This could be the spark the Chicago Bulls needed. We're going to be talking about NBA draft prospect Thomas Sorber and why he might be a great fit for the Chicago Bulls. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you've found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so before we jump into it, I first want to remind you that 70.1% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel. So like Modest Mazelis does in games, make sure that you slam dunk on that subscribe button for us, as it means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to reach our end of the season subscriber goal. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the content today. And so look, if you have not got a chance to see the most recent news around the Chicago Bulls, I love this title here by Elias Schuster talking about the NBA draft. But the Chicago Bulls did not get the number one pick in the draft. And the irony of this situation is that the Chicago Bulls and the Dallas Mavericks had a coin flip to decide the positions, and the Chicago Bulls lost. The Dallas Mavericks won, and they ended up getting the number one pick in the NBA draft. And so, look, according to this article in there, 1.7 chance at number one. The Chicago Bulls had an 8% chance at the top four position and did not get there. And so they remain at the 12th position. And so with that being said, starting to look at players that could possibly be available for the Chicago Bulls and be a good fit. And so I think that the Chicago Bulls definitely need some size, and that is why we are starting with a 6'10" forward/center here, Thomas Sorber, out of Georgetown. And so I think that he certainly could be a good fit for the Chicago Bulls. And let's start with the fact that you're getting the size. Look, 6'10", this is a player that we certainly could use on our front line. And so I think that definitely he fits us in what we're looking for there. Next up, looking at the numbers, we're going to go through all of them, and then we're going to go back and look at just the key aspects here. And so with the numbers, 14.5 points a game, 8.5 rebounds a game, 2.4 assists, 53.2 from the field, 72.4 from the free throw line, and 16.3 from downtown. And so starting with his scoring at 14.5. And so I think that when you look at his highlight clips, you are going to see a player that, man, he is very crafty with his footwork. I think that he's a player that he is going to give us post presence, meaning this, that when Josh Giddey, Kobe White, or whoever's playing guard dumps it down to Thomas Sorber, he can go get his own basket. And that is a huge plus, because we need that, especially when you're talking about interior scoring, because now he has a chance to not only get the bucket, but he can also get an and one. Now, he's also going to have to get stronger. We're going to be talking about that with all these NBA draft prospects, so get ready for that. So he does have to get stronger, obviously, and mature to the NBA game. But that is something that translates, I think, immediately. Next, when you're talking about the rebounding, look, we love Vooch because he's a double-double. He's coming in averaging 8.5 rebounds a game, so you love the fact that he can go out there and he's going to give you the rebounding presence. That's what we need when you're talking about getting more possessions on the offensive end. You're creating more possessions that way. Defensively, when you're hitting the boards there, you're minimizing the opportunities that a team has, and so you have got to be able to rebound as a big man. And so he definitely shows flashes of that. Next up, I love the free throw percentage. I think that that's huge for me for a big man, because you don't want to have just a hack-a-shack type of stuff there going on. And so, look, that just suggests to me that his percentages can go up, because I just mentioned that he's only shooting 16.3% from downtown. Now, I'm not saying he has to be a stretch five, or anything like that. You would love it if he does become that, but that suggests to me that, look, he does not have a broke shot, and that can translate into just better shooting all around for his game. And so if he has a face-up, you're expecting that maybe he can come off of that face-up and knock down that 18-footer. Hopefully he can extend out of that. The pick and pop, that's something that's open. A nice pick and roll where he doesn't always get to the basket, that's something that could possibly be open as well. And so I think that that's what you see with that free throw percentage. It suggests that could go up. Next, I'm not too concerned with the three-point percentage. I did want to go back to that at 16.3% from downtown. Look, I think that you're getting this guy to be a post presence and just an anchor. So he's going to give you that. We're going to talk about his defense here in the moment, but he can give you that. And so that's what you want out of him. We can figure it out elsewhere, just how to space the floor around him. So I think that I would like him for those things, what he brings with the size. And again, if I did not say 6'10", 225. And so the size is there. Don't know what his wingspan is, but I'm sure it's going to be on the plus side of things. And so next, when you look at the defense here, the defense, it's pretty stellar for the most part. And we're going to look at the weaknesses on the defense. But here's a direct quote from theringer.com if you go and take a look at that. But it says that, look, simply aren't many college players in the past 20 years who have had his steals and block rates and also averaged fewer than 3 fouls per 40 minutes. And so that lets you know that, look, his basketball IQ and being savvy on the defensive end, like he knows how to play good defense and not foul. That is very huge, right? Because you don't want a big man that is going to come in and be in foul trouble. And so the fact that he has that type of maturity, you love that. Now, as far as what he brings immediately as a defender, he's going to give you some rim protection. He is certainly going to block some shots. He's going to make it difficult with his length. And so you have got to love that, his ability to block shots. And I think that his reaction time is something that definitely shows when you look at his highlight clips. So a player that, look, he can definitely go out and, look, he can react and things like that. And just his timing seems to be there already, and he's not at the NBA level. And so you love that about him. Next, I think another thing to love about what he can do for you defensively is going to be the fact that he has some very good hands. Like, he's very good as far as kind of getting in the passing lane in the post and stuff like that. It looks like that his activity level is going to be there. And that kind of goes back to that direct quote with the Ringer and saying that, look, he can play defense and not get the fouls. And so that suggests that he's going to have some chances to create some turnovers for you. So you love that. Now, some of the comparisons that I see here on the Ringer, they have him as a Kevon Looney. So I do like that. That's solid. But I think he has more offensive upside than Kevon Looney. But make no mistake about it, Kevon Looney is an NBA champion. Next up, Al Horford is an outside the circle kind of thing. And so if he turns into an Al Horford, you love that. A guy that can go inside, outside. Al Horford, the longevity and the way that he plays. And so I could certainly see that, because he's a player that he's not going to just jump over you with athleticism. He really gets you with the craftiness under the basket. Now, don't get me wrong. He could definitely dunk on you, everything else, but it's going to be something where it's more of just under the basket type of stuff. Like, I don't expect for him to just come over and just outright sky over you. In fact, for me personally, he reminds me a lot of Roy Hibbert. Like, he reminds me of that type of big man. And so I would definitely love for Thomas Sorber to come to the Chicago Bulls if he can bring you that game. Next up, they have Wendell Carter Jr., and this is the Ringer. They have him as a comparison there. And so I like all of those comparisons here. Now, when you look at the weakness for him defensively, struggles to get out there to switch. And so it says that I've seen a couple times that it's almost like he's laboring to get out there. And so that suggests that he could be burned by a player that can stretch the floor. And also, too, when he gets caught in those pick and rolls with those guards, that is going to be an issue. So he could be a liability there. And that means that he could be a player that maybe is dependent on matchups and things like that. And so you would want a player that if you're getting at 12, hopefully you can get him to be a player that can just not be just situational, but you can use him in everything that you have going on in a game flow. Like, so it just doesn't depend on what that team is doing. Like, you can go out there and you can have him on the floor. It's not a liability. And so that is one thing that he's going to have to get better at. And that's lateral quickness there and being able to be a player that can switch out there. And so I'm not too concerned about that, because I think that that's some of the concerns maybe for Zach Edey coming in. And I think that Zach Edey looked just fine to me. And I think that, look, if he wants to do it, look, I definitely think he can do it. I think one of the other concerns that you have is that he had a foot injury. So a foot injury that did cost him. He's going to be limited at this draft combine that is taking place here in Chicago. So keep that in mind. You are going to see some stuff. I don't know how much, on ball or on court, activity we see from him, but definitely he's probably going to be limited because he did miss the rest of the season in February. And so anyway, you you guys let me know what you guys are thinking about here with Thomas Sorber, because I definitely think that he would give us an identity. He's going to get a bucket down there. He gives us a defensive presence. Yes, he would need to clean up some of the things he has to do as far as getting out and being a switchable player on defense. And I think that also, too, his jump shooting is going to have to also improve. And I think that if the Bulls do keep him, this would suggest that you're going to probably have to keep a guy like Jalen Smith on the roster, who is a big that can complement him and not just be a guy that goes inside. Or you're going to have to, I think, go with Zach Collins on the roster, or keep both of them, because you do need some centers that can also stretch the floor, and both of those players can do so. And so that probably is going to factor into maybe what AK is thinking in the draft, or at least we think so, but who knows what happens. But anyhow, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking here, and so hopefully we can get a steal. Remember, we got Modest. He was 11th last year, so this would be the 12th pick in this upcoming NBA draft, and so hopefully we get a player that has an impact like Modest Buzelis. And so you guys let me know in the comments, what is AK going to do? Do you feel comfortable with the Chicago Bulls going with Thomas Sorber? Is it somebody else that you guys would like to see the Chicago Bulls get? And look, as we always say around here, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.